Imagine going to a job interview, not knowing the man behind the desk has been your husband for 10 years. Hannah stood outside Vale Corporation's glass tower, rain sliding down the windows like silent tears, her reflection trembling in the steel and storm. She didn't know that the man waiting inside, the empire's heir the world feared and admired, had been watching over her since the day they were bound together in a marriage neither of them chose, a contract signed by families. A union without love, a wedding she never attended. Gabriel Ashford had everything, power, control, an empire that bent nations. But the one thing he wanted, never knew his name. She smoothed her worn blazer, breathed deep, and stepped inside. The lobby swallowed her, marble, gold, silence so thick it hurt. She gave her name at the desk. The receptionist's eyes flickered with something Hannah couldn't read. "Mr. Ashford will see you now." Her heart stumbled. She'd heard the name before, everyone had, but she never imagined she'd be in the same room with him. The elevator rose, 53 floors. Her pulse climbed with it. The doors opened. A hallway, floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sprawled below like a kingdom. And at the end, behind glass and shadow, a man stood with his back to her, tall, silent, perfectly still. Gabriel didn't turn when she entered. He couldn't. Not yet. Because if he turned, if he looked at her, 10 years of silence would shatter in a single breath. He'd seen her before. In photographs his assistant quietly gathered. In moments he created from a distance, scholarship payments under false names, hospital bills erased, rent covered by anonymous benefactors. He'd loved her without ever speaking her name aloud. And now she was here, in his office, close enough to hear her breathing. "Miss Morgan," he said, voice low, controlled. "Please, sit." Hannah stepped forward, her shoes soft against the marble. She sat across from him, hands folded, trying to steady the storm inside her chest. Gabriel finally turned. Their eyes met, and something inside him cracked. She looked exactly as she did in the single photograph he kept locked in his desk drawer. A picture from the day their families signed the contract. She'd been 20. He'd been 25. She never saw him that day, but he saw her, and he never stopped. "You applied for the communications director position," he said, his voice careful, measured. "Yes." Her voice was quiet, but steady. Brave. He wanted to tell her everything, that she didn't need to work, that she was already his, that every morning for 10 years he woke wondering if today would be the day he'd find the courage to stand before her and say, "I'm your husband, and I've been waiting for you." But he didn't, because love, real love, doesn't demand. It waits. "You're overqualified," he said, scanning her resume even though he'd memorized it months ago. "I'm determined," she replied. "I don't need perfection. I need a chance." Gabriel's jaw tightened. She had no idea she was speaking to a man who'd given her 1,000 chances she never knew existed. "Why Vale Corporation?" he asked. Hannah hesitated, then softly, "Because I heard the empire's heir believes in second chances." Silence. The rain outside grew heavier. Gabriel leaned back, his gaze never leaving hers. "What if," he began, voice barely above a whisper, "what if the person you're speaking to has been waiting for his own second chance?" Hannah blinked. Confusion flickered across her face. "I don't understand." "You will," he said. "In time." He stood, walked to the window, hands behind his back. "You're hired." Hannah's breath caught. "Just like that?" "Just like that." She rose slowly, uncertain, heart pounding. "Thank you, Mr. Ashford." Gabriel." She froze. "Call me Gabriel." Something in his voice made her chest ache. She didn't know why. "Thank you, Gabriel." He didn't turn. He couldn't let her see his face. Not yet. Because if she saw the way he looked at her, she'd know. And he wasn't ready to lose her before he ever truly had her. "You start Monday," he said. "My assistant will contact you." Hannah nodded, turned toward the door. But before she left, she paused. "Gabriel." He stilled. "Have we Giddy met before?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Gabriel closed his eyes. "No," he whispered. "A lie. The first of many he'd have to tell until the day he could finally speak the truth." Hannah left, the door closed, and Gabriel stood alone in his empire, rain hammering the glass, the weight of 10 years pressing against his chest. He pulled open his desk drawer. Inside, beneath contracts and keys, lay a single photograph. A girl in a white dress she never wore for him. A wedding that never happened. A love that never died. He touched the edge of the frame. "I'll tell you," he whispered to the empty room. "I promise. But not yet, because some truths need time to be kind. What happens when the woman you've loved in silence for a decade finally works by your side?" Monday came like a storm Hannah didn't see coming. She stood in front of her mirror that morning, hands trembling as she buttoned her blouse, the nicest one she owned, pressed carefully the night before. This was it. Her first day at Vale Corporation. Her first real chance. But something felt strange. The way Gabriel looked at her during the interview, the way he said her name, the way his voice softened when he told her to call him by his first name. She shook her head. "Stop. He's the Empire's heir. You're nobody." But her heart didn't listen. She arrived at Vale Corporation 20 minutes early. The receptionist smiled, too warmly. "Miss Morgan, Mr. Ashford requested you meet him in his private office before orientation." Hannah's pulse quickened. "His private office?" 53rd floor. He's expecting you." The elevator ride felt longer this time, heavier. When the doors opened, Gabriel was already there, standing by the window, hands in his pockets, silhouette sharp against the morning light. He turned. And for a moment neither of them spoke. "You're early," he said. "I didn't want to be late." A faint smile touched his lips. "You never would be." Hannah frowned. "How would you know?" Gabriel's smile faded. He gestured to the chair. "Sit, please." She did, slowly, watching him with careful eyes. He walked to his desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a sleek black folder. "This is your contract," he said, sliding it toward her. "Standard terms, but I added a clause." Hannah opened it, scanning the pages. Everything looked normal until she reached the final page. "Employee will report directly to Gabriel Ashford. No intermediary oversight, no secondary review." She looked up, confused. "I report only to you." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I can't trust anyone else with you. Because I need to see you, every day, even if it's torture. Because 10 years of distance taught me that watching you from afar is not enough." But he didn't say any of that. "Because I value loyalty," he said instead, "and I see it in you." Hannah's throat tightened. No one had ever said that to her before. "I won't let you down," she whispered. Gabriel's chest ached. "You already saved me. You just don't know it yet." "I know," he said softly. Hannah signed the contract, her hand steady even though her heart was not. Gabriel watched her write her name, Hannah Morgan, and something inside him screamed to tell her the truth. That name should be Hannah Ashford. But he stayed silent. "Your office is next to mine," he said, standing. "I'll show you." He led her down a quiet hallway, their footsteps echoing in sync. He stopped in front of a glass door. Inside was a beautiful office, windows overlooking the city, a sleek desk, fresh flowers on the corner table. Hannah stepped inside, breathless. "This is mine." "Yes." She turned to him, eyes wide. "Gabriel, this is too much. You're not just anything." The words came out harder than he meant. Hannah blinked, startled. Gabriel softened. "You're part of this company now. You deserve to be treated with respect." She nodded slowly, but her eyes held questions she didn't ask. He stepped closer, too close, then caught himself and stepped back. "If you need anything," he said, voice rough, "I'm right next door." "Thank you." He turned to leave, but her voice stopped him. "Gabriel?" He froze. "Why does it feel like you already know me?" His hand tightened on the doorframe. "Because I've known you for 10 years. Because I know you take your coffee black with 1 sugar. Because I know you visit your mother's grave every Sunday. Because I know the scar on your wrist is from the night you worked 3 jobs and burned yourself on a fryer. Because I know everything and you know nothing." "Maybe," he said quietly. "Some people are just meant to understand each other." He left before she could respond. Hannah stood alone in her new office, heart pounding, Gabriel's words echoing in her mind. Some people are just meant to understand each other. She didn't know why, but she believed him. The first week passed in a blur. Hannah worked harder than anyone else. She stayed late, arrived early, poured herself into every project Gabriel gave her, and Gabriel watched. He watched the way she bit her lip when she concentrated, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous, the way she smiled, rare, beautiful, like sunlight breaking through clouds, when she finally solved a problem. He watched her eat lunch alone at her desk, too shy to join the others. He watched her take the stairs instead of the elevator to save time. He watched her and fell deeper in love. One evening, long after everyone else had gone home, Gabriel walked past her office and saw the light still on. He knocked softly. Hannah looked up, surprised. "Gabriel, I didn't know you were still here." "I could say the same." She smiled tiredly. "Just finishing the quarterly report." He stepped inside, glanced at her screen. "You've been at this for 6 hours. I want it to be perfect." "It already is." He paused. "You are." Hannah's breath caught. Gabriel realized what he'd said. His jaw tightened. "I mean, your work. Your work is perfect." But the way he looked at her said something else entirely. Hannah stood slowly, her eyes searching his face. "Gabriel, who are you? What do you mean? You hired me without hesitation. You gave me an office next to yours. You look at me like..." She stopped, shaking her head. "Like you've known me forever." Gabriel's heart hammered against his ribs. Tell her now. But fear held him captive. "Maybe I have," he whispered. "That's impossible." "Is it?" Silence stretched between them, heavy and electric. Hannah took a step closer. "Then tell me, how?" Gabriel's hands trembled. He'd waited 10 years for this moment, but when he opened his mouth, the words wouldn't come. Because once he spoke the truth, everything would change. And he wasn't ready to lose her. Not yet. "Go home, Hannah," he said, voice strained. "It's late." Hurt flashed across her face. She nodded, grabbed her bag, and walked past him without another word. Gabriel stood alone in her office, the ghost of her perfume lingering in the air. He pulled out his phone, stared at the contact he'd never called. "Hannah, wife." His thumb hovered over the screen, then he put the phone away. Not yet, he told himself. Not yet. But the truth was already breaking free, and soon there would be nowhere left to hide. When love has been silent for 10 years, how loud will the truth be when it finally speaks? 3 weeks passed like a slow burn. Hannah became indispensable. Her strategies doubled engagement. Her presentations silenced boardrooms. Her presence changed everything. But Gabriel was unraveling. Every day beside her was heaven and hell. Every accidental touch, her hand brushing his when passing documents, her shoulder grazing his in the elevator, left him breathless. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think of anything but the weight of the secret crushing his chest. And Hannah noticed. She saw the shadows under his eyes, the way his hands trembled when she entered his office, the way he'd start to speak, then stop, swallowing words that tasted like confession. One Thursday evening, she found him standing alone on the executive terrace, 53 floors above the world, staring at the city lights like a man searching for answers in the dark. She almost turned back, but something pulled her forward. Hannah stepped outside. The wind was cold. Gabriel didn't turn, but his shoulders tensed. She stood beside him in silence. Minutes passed. Neither spoke. Finally, Gabriel's voice broke the quiet. "Do you believe in fate?" Hannah glanced at him, surprised. His profile was sharp against the sky, beautiful and broken. "I don't know," she said softly. "Why?" He exhaled slowly. "Because sometimes I wonder if we're all just following paths written long before we were born." "That sounds lonely." Gabriel's jaw clenched. "It is." Hannah turned toward him fully now. "Gabriel, what's wrong?" "Everything. Nothing. You." "I made a promise once," he said, voice barely audible, "a long time ago, to protect someone. To wait for the right moment to tell them the truth. And the right moment never comes." Hannah's heart ached at the pain in his voice. She wanted to reach for him, but fear held her still. "Maybe," she whispered, "the right moment is just the honest one." Gabriel finally looked at her, and in his eyes she saw something that terrified and thrilled her. Longing, desperation, love. He stepped closer. So close she could feel the heat of him, smell the faint cologne, see the storm raging behind his carefully controlled expression. "What if the truth destroys everything?" he asked. "What if hiding it already has?" Silence. Gabriel's hand lifted, slowly, trembling, and for a heartbeat, Hannah thought he might touch her face. But he stopped, pulled back, turned away. "Go home, Hannah." Her chest tightened. "Why do you keep pushing me away?" "Because I have to." "That's not an answer." Gabriel closed his eyes, fists clenched. "It's the only one I can give." Hannah stared at his back, frustration and hurt warring inside her. She wanted to scream, to demand the truth, to shake him until he finally spoke. But instead, she walked away. And Gabriel stood alone on the terrace, the cold wind cutting through him, knowing he'd just broken her heart to protect his own. That night, Hannah couldn't sleep. She sat at her small kitchen table, rain tapping against the window, Gabriel's words circling her mind like ghosts. "Do you believe in fate? What if the truth destroys everything?" She opened her laptop, typed his name into the search bar. Gabriel Ashford. Articles flooded the screen. The Empire's heir, youngest executive to lead Vale Corporation. Ruthless, brilliant, untouchable. But nothing personal. No family photos, no relationships, nothing. It was as if he'd erased himself from the world outside the company. Hannah scrolled deeper, clicking through page after page, until something caught her eye. An old article, 10 years old, buried beneath corporate press releases. Vale and Morgan families announced strategic alliance. Her breath stopped. Morgan, her last name. She clicked the article, hands shaking. The Vale and Morgan families have formalized a historic partnership through a private union, ensuring the future of both legacies. Details remain confidential. Hannah's vision blurred. A private union. Her mind raced. She thought of her parents, gone now, both of them, years ago. She thought of the lawyer who'd come to her after their funeral, handing her documents she'd barely read, telling her everything was handled. She thought of the trust fund that appeared out of nowhere when she turned 25, the mysterious payments that covered her mother's medical bills, the scholarship that had no donor name. Her chest tightened. No, it couldn't be. She grabbed her phone, dialed the lawyer's number, the one she'd saved and never called. It rang and rang. Then a voicemail. Hannah's voice shook. "This is Hannah Morgan. I need to know, was there a contract? Between my family and the Ashfords. Please, I need to know." She hung up, hands trembling, and in the silence of her apartment, the truth began to whisper. The next morning, Gabriel arrived at his office to find Hannah already there. She stood in his doorway, arms crossed, eyes red but fierce. He knew immediately she'd found something. "Hannah, tell me the truth." Her voice was steady, but he heard the tremor beneath. Gabriel's heart slammed against his ribs. "About what?" "About us." She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "About why you hired me. About why you look at me like you're holding on to something you're afraid to lose." He couldn't breathe. "Tell me, Gabriel." Her voice cracked. "Please." And Gabriel realized, standing there, that the 10 years of waiting, of protecting, of loving from the shadows, were over. The truth was coming, and there was no stopping it now. He exhaled slowly, met her eyes, and spoke the words that would change everything. "Because, Hannah," his voice was raw, broken, "you're my wife." Silence. The world stopped. Hannah stared at him, her face draining of color. "What?" "10 years ago," Gabriel whispered, "our families made an agreement. A marriage contract. You never knew, but I did." His voice shook. "And I've been yours and every day since." Hannah's knees buckled. Gabriel caught her, held her steady, his hands gentle on her arms. She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face, her voice barely a breath. "You've been my husband for 10 years?" "Yes." "And you never told me." "I was waiting," he said, eyes glistening, "for you to know me first. Not as a name on a paper, but as a man who loves you." Hannah pulled away, stumbling back, shaking her head. No, this isn't real." "It is." "Then show me." Her voice broke. "Show me proof." Gabriel reached into his desk drawer with trembling hands and pulled out the marriage certificate. "When the truth you've hidden becomes the only thing left to say, can love survive the silence it was born from?" Hannah stared at the document in her trembling hands. Her name, his name, a date from 10 years ago, official seals. Signatures she recognized, her father's, shaky and desperate, written months before he died. The paper felt like fire. She looked up at Gabriel, tears blurring her vision, her voice a broken whisper. "Why?" Gabriel's face was raw with pain. He'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, but nothing prepared him for the devastation in her eyes. "Your father's company was collapsing," he said quietly. "My family offered help, but my father, he demanded a condition." Hannah's breath hitched. "A marriage alliance, old-fashioned, brutal, but legally binding." Gabriel's voice cracked. "You were 20, I was 25, and you were chosen without ever knowing." She shook her head, backing away. "So I've been yours? This whole time?" "No." Gabriel stepped forward, desperation flooding his voice. "You were never mine. You were always free. I made sure of that." "Free?" Hannah's laugh was bitter, broken. "How can I be free when my entire life has been a lie?" "It wasn't a lie. It was protection." Her eyes flashed. "From what?" "From me." Gabriel's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "From a man who loved you before you knew his face. From a husband you never chose." Silence fell like a guillotine. Hannah's hands shook as she set the certificate on his desk. She couldn't look at it anymore, couldn't breathe in this office where every word felt like drowning. "I need to leave." "Hannah." "Don't." She held up a trembling hand. "Don't say my name like that. Like you know me, you don't." "I do." Gabriel's voice broke. "I know you take your coffee black with 1 sugar. I know you visit your mother's grave every Sunday at dawn. I know you worked 3 jobs to pay her medical bills. I know the scar on your wrist. I know—" "Stop." Tears streamed down her face. "You've been watching me. I've been protecting you. That's not love, Gabriel. That's control." The words hit him like a physical blow. Hannah grabbed her bag, walked toward the door. Her hand was on the handle when Gabriel's voice stopped her. "I never controlled you. I gave you freedom." She turned, eyes blazing through tears. "Then let me go now." Gabriel's chest shattered. Every instinct screamed to stop her, to beg, to fall to his knees and confess everything he'd held inside for 10 years. But he didn't, because she was right. Love wasn't control. Love was letting go. "You're free," he whispered. "You always were." Hannah's face crumpled. She turned and walked out, leaving Gabriel standing alone in his empire, the marriage certificate lying on his desk like a death sentence. The door closed. And for the first time in 10 years, Gabriel Ashford, the empire's heir, the man who controlled nations, fell to his knees and broke. Days passed like ghosts. Hannah didn't return to Vale Corporation. Her office sat empty, flowers wilting on the corner table, the city lights reflecting off glass walls that saw nothing but absence. Gabriel stopped sleeping entirely. He sat at his desk through the nights, staring at the photograph he'd kept hidden for so long. Hannah in a white dress she never wore, a wedding that never happened. His assistant knocked softly one morning, concern etched on her face. "Sir, the board is asking—" "Cancel everything." "But everything." She left quietly. Gabriel stood, walked to the window, pressed his forehead against the cold glass. Below, the city moved like nothing had changed. But for him, everything had shattered. He pulled out his phone, stared at her contact. Hannah. Wife. His thumb hovered over the call button. Then he deleted the contact. If she wanted freedom, he'd give it to her, even if it killed him. Hannah sat in her small apartment, the marriage certificate spread on her kitchen table, her mother's old journal open beside it. She'd found it buried in a box of her parents' belongings. Pages and pages of her mother's handwriting, documenting the final months before her father's company collapsed. And there, in faded ink, the truth. Gabriel's family offered everything: money, support, a future for Hannah. But Richard, her father, demanded the contract be kept secret. He couldn't bear for Hannah to know she was being used as collateral. Gabriel tried to refuse. He was 25, already powerful, and he wanted no part of an arranged marriage. But when he saw Hannah's photograph, something changed. He agreed, but only on one condition. Hannah would never be forced. She would live freely. He would wait. And if she never came to him, he would let her go. Hannah's vision blurred. He would wait. She thought of every mysterious blessing in her life: the scholarship with no name, the hospital bills that disappeared, the rent that never bounced. Gabriel. Always Gabriel. Loving her from the shadows, protecting her without chains. Waiting for her without demands, and she'd called it control. Her chest ached with a pain so deep it felt like drowning. She grabbed her coat, ran into the rain, hailed a cab. Vale Corporation, fast. Gabriel stood on the executive terrace, rain soaking through his shirt, staring at the city below. He'd made his decision. Tomorrow he'd file for dissolution. He'd end the contract. He'd set her free legally, completely, the way he should have done 10 years ago, even if it destroyed him. The terrace door opened behind him. He didn't turn, probably his assistant again trying to pull him back inside. But then he heard her voice. "You waited." Gabriel froze. Slowly, he turned. Hannah stood in the rain, soaked, trembling, tears mixing with the water streaming down her face. 10 years, she whispered. You waited 10 years. Gabriel couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Hannah stepped closer, her voice breaking. You gave me freedom. You gave me everything. And you never asked for anything back. Because love doesn't ask, Gabriel said, voice raw. It just gives. Hannah's face crumpled. She closed the distance between them, rain falling around them like a baptism. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. You have nothing to apologize for. I called you a liar. I said you didn't know me. Her hands found his chest, trembling. But you know me better than anyone ever has. Gabriel's control shattered. His hands came up, cradling her face gently, reverently. I would have waited forever, he whispered. You don't have to anymore. And Hannah kissed him. Soft, desperate. A decade of silence breaking into sound. Gabriel pulled her closer, rain and tears, and 10 years of longing pouring into a single moment where nothing existed but them. When they finally pulled apart, foreheads pressed together, breathing ragged, Hannah whispered the words that changed everything. Teach me how to be your wife. When love waits in silence for 10 years, what happens when it finally speaks? The world didn't change overnight, but everything between them did. Hannah moved through the next days like someone waking from a long dream. Gabriel gave her space, patient, careful, never pushing, but his presence was constant, steady, like gravity she'd always felt but never understood. She returned to Vale Corporation, but everything looked different now. The office beside his wasn't just a workspace, it was a threshold, a bridge between two lives trying to become one. The employees noticed. Whispers followed her through hallways, curious glances, speculation. Gabriel's assistant, Maria, kind-eyed and quietly knowing, stopped Hannah one morning outside the executive floor. He never stopped, Maria said softly. Hannah looked at her, confused. 10 years, Maria continued, voice gentle. Every decision he made, every charity he funded, every scholarship that seemed too generous, she paused. He was always thinking of you. Hannah's throat tightened. Maria smiled. I've worked for him since the beginning. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. She walked away, leaving Hannah standing in the hallway, heart pounding. When Hannah entered Gabriel's office minutes later, he was on the phone, pacing by the window. He saw her and immediately ended the call. Their eyes met, no words, just understanding. Gabriel gestured to the sofa by the window, not his desk, not the formal space, but somewhere softer, more human. Hannah sat. He sat beside her, close but not touching, giving her room to breathe. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Neither do I. She looked at him, surprised. Gabriel's smile was sad, tender. You think I know how to be a husband? I've only ever known how to wait. Hannah's chest ached. She reached for his hand, tentative, uncertain, and laced her fingers through his. Gabriel stilled, staring at their joined hands like he'd been given something sacred. Start small, Hannah whispered. Teach me who you are. So he did. Over the following weeks, Gabriel unraveled himself for her. He told her about his childhood, lonely, built on expectations and duty. About his father, cold and calculating, who saw marriage as strategy, never love. About the day he saw her photograph and felt, for the first time, something beyond obligation. I thought it would fade, Gabriel said one evening as they sat in his penthouse, city lights glittering below. I thought if I stayed away, the feeling would die. Hannah sat curled on the opposite end of the sofa, watching him. But it didn't, he continued quietly. It grew. Every year. Every moment I couldn't reach you." He looked at her, eyes raw. "Loving you became the only real thing in my life." Hannah's breath caught. She set down her wine glass, moved closer until their knees touched. "Why didn't you just tell me? Years ago?" Gabriel's jaw tightened. "Because you deserve to choose, not to be chosen for." Silence settled between them, heavy and tender. Hannah reached up slowly, fingers trembling, and touched his face. Gabriel closed his eyes, leaning into her palm like a man starved for touch. "I choose you now," she whispered. Gabriel's eyes opened, glistening. "You don't have to." "I know." Hannah's thumb traced his cheekbone. "That's why I mean it." And she kissed him, soft, deliberate, a promise she was finally ready to make. Gabriel's control shattered. His hands found her waist, pulling her closer. 10 years of restraint dissolving into desperate tenderness. When they broke apart, breathless, Gabriel pressed his forehead to hers. "I don't deserve you." "Good thing love isn't about deserving." He laughed, broken, beautiful, and held her like she might disappear. But peace never lasts. 2 days later, everything unraveled. Hannah was working late, finalizing a presentation, when her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Miss Morgan?" A man's voice, professional, cold. "Yes." "This is Richard Caldwell, attorney for the Morgan estate. We need to discuss the contractual agreement between your family and the Ashfords." Hannah's blood ran cold. "What about it?" "There's a clause you may not be aware of, a termination provision." Her heart stopped. "What provision?" "If the marriage remains unconsummated after 10 years, either party can dissolve the contract and claim financial restitution from the other family's estate." Hannah couldn't breathe. "Someone has invoked that clause," the attorney continued, "and they're demanding the Ashford family pay $30 million or publicly dissolve the marriage." The phone slipped from her hand. Gabriel found her 20 minutes later, sitting on the floor of her office, staring at nothing. He knelt beside her immediately. "Hannah, what happened?" She looked at him, eyes hollow. "Someone's trying to destroy us." Gabriel's face darkened. "Who?" "I don't know." Her voice was numb. "But they know about the contract, about the clause." Gabriel's jaw clenched. He pulled out his phone, dialed sharply. "Find out who accessed the Morgan estate files. Now." He hung up, turned back to Hannah, his expression fierce. "No one is taking you from me. Gabriel, 30 million, I don't care about the money." His hands framed her face. "I care about you." Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "What if this destroys everything you've built?" "Then I'll build it again." His voice was iron and fire. "But I won't lose you." The intensity in his gaze burned through her fear. "Who would do this?" she whispered. Gabriel's expression shifted, something dark, something knowing. "Someone who's been waiting for me to finally have something worth destroying." Hannah's breath caught. "Who?" Gabriel stood, pulled her up with him, his hand firm around hers. "My brother." The words dropped like a bomb. Hannah stared at him. "You have a brother." "Had." Gabriel's voice was cold. "Victor. Older. Entitled. Furious when my father chose me to lead Vale Corporation instead of him." "Where is he now?" Gabriel's eyes were ice. "I don't know, but if he's surfaced now after 10 years of silence," his grip on her hand tightened. "It means he's been watching, waiting. And now that I finally have you..." He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Hannah understood. Victor wasn't just threatening their marriage, he was threatening their future. And somewhere in the shadows, the Empire's heir had an enemy who knew exactly where to strike. When the past comes for the love you've protected for 10 years, how far will you go to keep it? Gabriel's penthouse became a war room. Lawyers arrived within the hour. Documents spread across the dining table like battle plans. Phone calls echoed through marble halls. Hannah stood by the window, watching the city blur beneath rain and fog, feeling like a pawn in a game she never asked to play. Gabriel's voice cut through the noise, sharp and commanding. "I want every communication Victor's had in the past decade, every financial transaction, every person he's contacted." His lead attorney nodded. "Sir, if he exposes the marriage publicly, let him." Gabriel's tone was ice. "I'm done hiding." The room fell silent. Hannah turned, staring at him. Gabriel met her gaze across the room, his expression fierce, unbreakable. "If Victor wants a war," he said quietly, "he'll get one." The lawyers exchanged glances, then quietly gathered their materials and left. The door closed. Silence fell like snow. Hannah walked toward Gabriel slowly, her heart a storm of fear, and something else, something that felt dangerously like hope. "You'd risk everything," she whispered. "For this? For me?" Gabriel's expression softened. He reached for her hand, pulled her close. "You are everything." Hannah's breath caught. She searched his face, seeing no hesitation, no doubt. "What if we lose? Then we lose together." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "But I won't lose you by hiding anymore." Something inside Hannah broke open. 10 years of walls she didn't know she'd built, crumbling in the face of his unwavering certainty. She stepped closer, until no space remained between them. "Then we fight." Gabriel's eyes blazed. He cupped her face, kissed her forehead, her cheek, her lips, soft, reverent, like sealing a vow. When they pulled apart, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression hardened. "What is it?" Hannah asked. Gabriel's jaw clenched. "Victor wants to meet." The restaurant was exclusive, expensive, empty, except for one man sitting in the shadows of a private booth. Victor Ashford looked like Gabriel's reflection, twisted by bitterness. Same sharp features, same commanding presence, but where Gabriel's eyes held warmth beneath control, Victor's held only cold calculation. He smiled as they approached. "Little brother." "Still playing hero, I see." Gabriel's voice was flat. "What do you want?" Victor gestured to the seats across from him. Gabriel remained standing. Hannah stayed close beside him, feeling Victor's gaze slide over her like something oily. "So this is her." Victor's smile widened. "The wife you've been hiding for 10 years. I have to admit, Gabriel, I'm impressed. You actually fell in love with the contract." Hannah's spine straightened. Gabriel's hand found the small of her back, steady, protective. "State your terms," Gabriel said coldly. Victor leaned back, swirling wine in his glass. "Simple. Dissolve the marriage, pay the restitution, walk away." "No." Victor's smile faded. "You'd destroy our family's reputation, expose father's machinations? For her?" "Yes." The word rang like a bell. Victor's eyes darkened. He set down his glass, leaned forward. "You were always weak, Gabriel. Always choosing sentiment over strategy." His gaze flicked to Hannah. "Tell me, does she know what you gave up for her? The deals you sabotaged because they threatened her neighborhood? The competitors you destroyed because they tried to buy her mother's medical debt?" Hannah's breath stopped. Gabriel's expression remained stone. Victor laughed. "Of course she doesn't, because you're still lying to her, still playing the noble protector while manipulating everything around her." Hannah felt Gabriel tense beside her. She looked up at him, searching his face. "Gabriel." His jaw was tight, eyes fixed on Victor. Victor's smile turned cruel. "Ask him, Hannah. Ask him how many lives he's ruined, how many companies he's crushed, all to build a perfect little world around you." Gabriel's voice came out low, dangerous. "I protected what mattered. You controlled her life without her knowledge. How is that different from what father did to you?" The words landed like a blade. Hannah felt Gabriel flinch beside her, subtle, but there. Victor stood, buttoning his jacket. You have 48 hours. Dissolve the marriage, pay the clause, and I disappear. Or I release everything to the press, every contract, every manipulation, every dirty secret you've buried to keep your precious love story intact." He walked past them, paused at Gabriel's shoulder. "Love doesn't survive exposure, brother. Trust me." He left. Gabriel stood frozen, his hand still on Hannah's back, but his touch felt distant now. Hannah turned to face him. "Is it true?" Gabriel's eyes closed. "Hannah, did you manipulate my life?" Silence. Then quietly, "Yes." The word shattered something between them. Hannah stepped back. Gabriel's hand fell away. "I need to know everything," she whispered. "Right now, no more secrets." Gabriel's face was anguish and resignation. He gestured to the booth Victor had vacated. They sat across from each other, the same table but suddenly miles apart, and Gabriel began to speak. He told her about the scholarship fund he created under a false foundation, the medical debt he bought and erased, the landlord he paid to keep her rent low, the job offers he orchestrated, the neighborhood development project he killed because it would have displaced her. Every act of love, every manipulation, every choice he made without her knowledge. Hannah listened, her face unreadable, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. When he finished, the silence was deafening. "You built a cage," she finally whispered, "and called it protection." Gabriel's voice broke. "I never wanted to control you. I wanted to give you freedom. Freedom isn't real if I don't know the cost." Hannah's hands trembled on the table. "Every choice I thought I made, was it ever really mine?" Gabriel reached for her hand. She pulled away. The movement was small, but it destroyed him. "Hannah, please, I need time." Her voice was hollow. "I need to think." She stood. Gabriel rose immediately, desperation flooding his face. "Don't leave. Not like this." Hannah looked at him, really looked, at the man she'd been learning to love, now fractured by truth. "You waited 10 years to tell me you were my husband," she said softly. "You can wait a few days while I decide if I want to stay one." She walked away, leaving Gabriel standing alone in an empty restaurant, the ruins of his perfect love story scattered at his feet. Outside, rain began to fall. And for the first time in 10 years, Gabriel Ashford didn't know if love would be enough. When protection becomes control, can love survive the truth? 3 days of silence. Gabriel didn't call, didn't text, didn't show up at her door. He gave her what she asked for: space, time, distance. But inside Vale Corporation, he was dismantling everything. He pulled files, reversed transactions, exposed every manipulation he'd ever made in Hannah's life, not to hide them, to document them, to give her proof of every choice he'd stolen. If she wanted the truth, she'd have it, all of it, even if it destroyed him. On the third night, Maria found him in his office, surrounded by papers, eyes hollow. "Sir, you need to rest." Gabriel didn't look up. "I need to finish this. She'll come back." "She shouldn't." His voice was raw. "Victor was right. I built a cage and called it love." Maria stepped closer, her voice soft but firm. "You built a life. You made mistakes. But you never took her choice away, you just cleared the path." Gabriel's hands stilled. "That's still control." "No, control is forcing. You gave. There's a difference." Gabriel finally looked at her, exhausted, broken. "What if she can't see it? Then you let her go." Maria's eyes were kind, the way you've always promised you would. She left. Gabriel sat in silence, staring at the photograph on his desk. Hannah, smiling, unaware, free. He picked up his phone, opened a new message. "I'm filing for dissolution tomorrow. You'll be free, legally, completely. I'm sorry I couldn't be the man you deserved." His finger hovered over send, then deleted it. If she wanted to leave, she'd tell him herself. he wouldn't take that choice away too. Hannah sat in her apartment. Gabriel's documents spread across her table. Every scholarship, every payment, every manipulation, but also every hospital visit her mother received that insurance didn't cover. Every time her landlord forgot to raise rent when everyone else's doubled. Every job opportunity that appeared exactly when she needed it most. She thought about control, about cages, about love, and slowly something shifted. Because control demanded obedience, Gabriel never did. Control demanded presence. Gabriel stayed away. Control demanded gratitude. Gabriel expected nothing. He'd paved roads, but she'd walked them herself. He'd opened doors, but she'd chosen which ones to enter. He'd loved her from the shadows, but he'd never stepped into her light without permission. Hannah pressed her palms to her eyes, tears slipping through. She'd been so angry, so hurt, so focused on what he'd done without her knowledge that she missed what he'd never done. He never demanded she love him back. He never used the marriage to control her. He never revealed himself until she asked. He gave and gave and gave. And when she needed space, he gave her that too. Hannah stood abruptly, grabbed her coat and ran. Vale Corporation was dark when she arrived. Security let her through. They knew her now. She took the elevator to the 53rd floor, heart hammering. The office was empty, but light spilled from the terrace. Hannah pushed through the door. Gabriel stood at the edge, hands in his pockets, staring at the city like a man saying goodbye. He turned at the sound of the door. His eyes widened. "Hannah?" She crossed the space between them in seconds, grabbed his face and kissed him, fierce, desperate, certain. Gabriel froze, then melted into her, hands finding her waist, pulling her close like he'd been drowning and she was air. When they broke apart, both breathless, tears streaming down her face, Hannah whispered against his lips, "You gave me everything and asked for nothing." Gabriel's voice was broken. "I took your choices. You cleared obstacles. That's different." Her hands framed his face. "You never forced me to love you. You just waited until I did." "Hannah." "I spent 3 days being angry," she said, tears falling freely now. "Angry at you for controlling my life. But you know what I realized?" Gabriel's eyes searched hers, desperate, terrified. "Every choice I made was still mine. Every door you opened, I walked through. Every path you cleared, I chose to follow." Her voice cracked. "You didn't build a cage, Gabriel. You built a foundation. And I built my life on it." Gabriel's control shattered. He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair, his body shaking. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for everything I did wrong, everything I should have told you." "I know." Hannah held him tighter. "And I forgive you." They stood together, rain beginning to fall around them, the city glittering below like a promise. Finally, Gabriel pulled back, his hands gentle on her face. "Victor's deadline is tomorrow." "Then let him expose us." Hannah's eyes were fierce. "Let the whole world know I'm your wife." Gabriel's breath caught. "You mean that?" "I'm tired of hiding, tired of being ashamed of something I didn't choose." She smiled through tears. "But I'm choosing you now, publicly, completely." Gabriel kissed her, soft, reverent, like sealing a vow they'd both finally chosen. When dawn broke, they faced Victor together. In a press conference that shocked the business world, Gabriel stood before cameras, Hannah beside him, and spoke the truth about the contract, the marriage, the 10 years of silence. Victor expected scandal, outrage, destruction. Instead, the world saw something else, a man who'd loved without demanding, a woman who'd chosen despite the odds. A love story that began in shadows but stepped into light unafraid. Victor's leverage crumbled, the clause dissolved, the threat vanished. And Gabriel and Hannah stood together, no longer hidden, no longer bound by contracts but by choice. 6 months later, they married again. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. A small ceremony, close friends, Maria crying in the front row. And when Gabriel slipped the ring on Hannah's finger, he whispered words only she could hear. "I choose you, every day, forever." Hannah smiled through tears. "I choose you too." The Empire's heir and the woman he'd waited 10 years to love finally became what they were always meant to be. Not a contract, not an arrangement, just two people who found each other in the dark and chose to walk into the light together. Love isn't about perfect timing. It's about choosing someone, even when the timing is impossible. If this story touched your heart, rate it from 0 to 10 in the comments below.